Hello. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again to the Virtual Formula League Tier 2, and we're back once again this week to the Temple of Speed, Monza, here in Italy, for the Tier 2 race this time, instead of the Tier 1. We did that Tier 1 race on Thursday at 8 o'clock as normal, and I was commentating alongside PJKOTR, and it was a dry quali, unlike today, which will have intermediate weather, tyres, banged on every single car and sent out of the pits, because we do have some rain during this qualifying session, but the race will be dry. So we've got an entire new grid worth of drivers, except a few drivers that may have reserved for the first race, the Tier 1 race on Thursday. Tom Taylor sticks out as a driver who caused quite a massive collision in Tier 1 on Thursday. But another driver who you may see, and you may think, hang on, isn't he a Tier 2 driver? Is Steph1210 has decided to join us as a Tier 2 reserve. He's on his wheel, meaning right now he's going to be handicapped and he's probably not going to be as fast as his true Tier 1 pace. As always, I'm joined once again by Adam Kessel's Dark Inferno 373.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, I join the one and only Sick Boy for Monza wet quali, which is only ever seen once before, a repeat of Season 1 Tier 1 Monza, where it was also a wet, I believe both sessions were also wet.
What's very interesting is Scruff, real quick, is actually out on the soft tyre. I'm not too sure what he's doing, but that's my team right there, the Alfa Romeos. And talking about that, we've had a bit of a mix-up when it comes to the teams. Obviously, some of the team principals haven't been too active, so I believe that now teams are divided between me and PJ, so I'm actually the team principal of Williams as well. Is that right, Dark?
I can actually underlay some information about that. So we have a number of issues from, as we just seen from the same, lag out a little bit there, number of issues with inactive team principals, so I've taken it into my own hands to ensure that we have active team principals, so that is PJ, you, Lay, and I believe Stan. So the teams are divided by you four, so 2 people have 3 teams and 2 people have 2 teams to manage. Makes it a lot easier, and yeah, it's just a lot simpler going into Season 3.
Extremely interesting. And it's good to kind of make those changes for the rest of the season. It's definitely going to be exciting, and suddenly being able to be the team principal for Williams is brilliant. But talking about Williams, I've been struggling to find which driver is on an outlap. I think the driver right now to start the outlap, the first driver on an outlap is, or even on a flying lap,
Taylor.
Is the United 199. But Tom Taylor, you're right, Tom Taylor is already through Lesmos 2, and he hasn't invalidated. The map in the bottom right hand corner has not turned red, even though he ran wide on the exit of Lesmos 2. That's very interesting. But
you're very clued up on these track names. I only know the track corner number.
Yes,
as it goes
exactly.
for Ascari, that's the only one, or 2 of 2 that I know.
Yeah, well, he was quite slow through Ascari, and I'm just kind of following. The driver behind him isn't on a flying lap, so I think the driver to follow right now would be Tom Taylor. But my eyes also on the Williams of the United 199 shortly behind him, so we'll see how quickly Tom Taylor's time will be as he crosses the line right now. And it is obviously fast. This is a 1:31.022, which is very interesting.
Unfortunately, we can't compare lap times between Season 1 Tier 1, as there's been a number of changes to the track itself and also the physics of the car. So cars are a lot slower now, so we're going to have to go blindly into here. As
yes, exactly.
Crosses the line and
oh, hang on, Gooders has just received a 5-place grid penalty for a collision with Steph, but both drivers seem to be going fairly slowly. It doesn't seem like either driver's actually on a flying lap right now, but it'll be interesting to see what happened.
I did say, I think it was the free McLaren of Iceman off the track there. I'm unsure if that is related to the incident, but I'm sure that will be reported to the FIA.
Yes, he's actually on the exit of Ascari right now, on the grass on the inside of Ascari, but
just riding on board with Pudnik.
Yes, of course. One of the oldest drivers in VFL, I do believe.
You would be correct.
But yeah, you are right. He's going around Parabolica right now to set his first flying lap, as Steph just sets a flying lap of 2 minutes, which is extremely interesting.
Indeed, definitely tied up with the collision further back, as Pudnik puts in a P8 lap of 1:33.8.
Yeah, it seems like an incredibly competitive lap time from Poppy 11.95 already. You know, throughout this entire season, we have just seen 2 drivers right at the very top. And first of all, Poppy 11.95, he's literally been exceptional in these qualifying performances. I do still think he's leading the Tier 2 Drivers' Championship, but he's always one to either pole it or be on that front row. And it's crazy.
You'll be correct. As we pan over to the standings, I have it open in front of me right now. He is leading the championship by a points gap of 6 to his teammate MOC, who I believe, he's now in P14, not set a lap time yet. Also in P2.
Very interesting.
The Williams right behind them in P3 and 4. So it's very competitive from the United one and JKS. Unfortunately, JKS cannot be with us this evening.
Yeah, that is unfortunate, but that also makes it very easy for the constructors' standings. But it actually doesn't, because apparently Williams are actually ahead of Ferrari in the constructors' standings, even though the 2 Ferraris ahead of the 2 Williams drivers. I'm not too sure how that works.
I looked at that myself and thought that can't be right. However, it is because Poppy at the start of the Tier 2 season was not actually a driver, he was a reserve driver, and he won with the team Alpine. Then he transferred to Ferrari, and that's why he is not, why Ferrari are not our top of the constructors. However, if they were, they'll definitely be on top.
Well, that is extremely interesting, as Steph has retired from the session very shortly to where JDM as well. So both drivers have retired from the session. What I caught is that JDM's car was standstill on the exit of the first chicane, and then Steph's car was standstill and obviously had crashed around Curve Grande, actually, that turn 3, that really quick, flat-out turn 3. So it'll be interesting to see whether both drivers just put a little bit too much throttle on and made that rear, completely snap out, and that's what's ended up DNFing them. But
it's very tricky conditions indeed, and Steph is now saying, oh, see, LLB hit the wall at the exit of, I believe that's turn 5.
Oh,
I believe that is wing damage.
Yeah, it looks very interesting. He's actually been quite oversteery all session, to be honest. It seemed like he's been pushing the car quite a lot. As we see Tom Taylor in P11, actually, he's just about to start a flying lap right now. And it will be good to kind of walk through the track, because like you said, there's been some track changes, because you used to be able to cut the inside curb on turn 1 and turn 4, but they've changed it now, is that right?
Yeah, the sausage curve is a lot more pronounced now in these recent updates. As we pan over to ALB, definitely got wing damage as he's crawling his way back to the pits.
Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, it provides a new challenge, as we also saw on Tier 1 Thursday. Trying to get those extra time, pushing, can be very costly, especially if you hit those curves.
Exactly. As we just saw Tom Taylor 07 kind of lose it on the exit of that turn 4-5 chicane. He's abandoned his flying lap, but just panning over to his Alfa Romeo teammate Scruff right now in P8, and he does an exceptional lap, a 129.3, 0.4 even, and he's actually able to go in P3, which is an exceptional performance.
5 milliseconds off, nice job, M8, very competitive as you said today. Definitely. Ooh, Kevin Kearney setting it even faster, like 4/10 faster.
Wow, that really is something. Unfortunately, we don't have a Sick Boy Super Lap for this weekend, because I was actually under the impression that it was going to be a dry qualifying, so I didn't set a Sick Boy Super Lap, because I thought that the one that I did for Thursday would still be relevant, but I guess it isn't, unfortunately. So we've got nothing to compare as a benchmark.
That is unfortunate. However, Kevin Kearney has definitely set a very competitive benchmark as a 129. I should see a 128, high to 128 perhaps. Definitely from Poppy, who we've seen in the past, set incredible lap times.
Yeah, and I've just actually caught a glimpse of the two Ferrari drivers performing a bit of a slipstream around Curve Grande, and it really does go to show that is exactly why the two Ferrari drivers are P1 and P2 in the drivers' standings respectively, because they're kind of a good team, a good pairing. Unfortunately,
indeed, as I say, teamwork makes the dream work.
Exactly. Unfortunately, the slipstream worked out to be nothing, because Poppy invalidated, or at least oversteered on the exit of Lesmos 2, so he's abandoned his lap.
It's the price to pay when you push very hard, especially in the wet. You can gain so much time, really trying to push the limits of the track, but also it's so much easier to step out the back or invalidate a lap.
Well, Scruff has actually just improved on his most recent lap time, and he's now in P2, just beat Nice Job M8, which I think I'm just going to call M8 from now on. I think that's the best, because unfortunately whenever I say his name it just kind of sounds, it's terrible to
I believe there is a slipstream performance between the Ferraris. Again, I think MOC is now receiving the slipstream as it heads into turn 1, and I believe they are very well taken turn 1 and 2 from MOC.
Yeah, it always looks... Yeah, exactly. It always looks slow through the first chicane, but that's just the wet weather for you. However, it doesn't look like they're going to be able to perform a slipstream around Curve Grande, unfortunately.
Unfortunately not.
Poppy didn't have the speed, and MOC was catching up a bit too much. But let's hope he doesn't hit any of these sausage curbs on the inside of the turn 4-5 chicane.
Turn 4 and 5 chicane was taken very well. It looks slow, however, being slow in the wet and fast exit is the way to go. As he goes through turns 6 and 7, very nice executed corners. What do you say?
Yeah, exactly. It's all about getting a really great exit from Lesmo 2. because you've got a long run into Ascari. It's actually a DRS straight. Unfortunately, there won't be any DRS right now because we're in the wet and DRS is disabled. But I did just catch a glimpse of MOC setting a purple second sector. And as I was saying, it was an incredible Lesmo 1 and 2 complex. So it'll be interesting to see if he can string it together around Parabolica. This could be pole time right now, and we could see.
And he does. No lock up of the front tyres. This is going to shape up to be a very, very fast and very
this could be
lap.
in the 128s, and unfortunately, I'm not too sure what. Yeah, I'm not too sure what happened there, ladies and gentlemen. He did set a purple sector in sector 2. Yeah, it must have been Ascari, but he's lost out completely.
On the entry of Ascari, he managed to go on the grass there a little bit, and I think that hindered his entry into Ascari.
But talking about
as M8, sets a fantastic lap.
Nice job, M8 has just set, as we were saying, a possible 128 pole time, and nice job, M8 is the first driver to go into the 128s with a 128.875, and that is a competitive lap time. That is incredibly fast.
It is great to see that in Tier 2, more predominantly, there are a small group of people, maybe 5, 6, that are very, very equal in pace, as we see from P1 actually all the way down to P9 to Phil Donald, that the gaps are very close.
Yeah, we have an extremely competitive grid here in Tier 2, and just as we were commenting earlier on in the session about how Poppy was on pole, it's just gone to show that while Poppy's been sitting in the garage, 6 other drivers have all beaten him to it, and he's now sitting in P7, which is really unlike Poppy. So I'm sure he will leave the pits shortly and really try and get back at them.
Yeah, indeed. I think he'll be looking at the lap time, seeing where he needs to improve, and maybe tweaking his setup a little bit. As the key thing to remember here is that there is a dry race in which every driver here knows. So I'll be very surprised if anyone here is running a wet setup. Whether it will help them in the qualifying, but the qualifying here doesn't really matter, despite the fact that you will get 1 point for pole. It's all won in the race.
Yes, exactly. I was just about to mention the differences in setup. As I was actually just following Pudnik, he's 6/10 up on his last lap, which is an exceptional performance. That will get him above good if he can string together a nice Parabolica. However, it's funny actually how you mention, by the way, it is ALB in the wall. I think he's actually retired from the qualifying.
That is a shame. Not the first time he has spun this qualifying session.
Yeah, that is unfortunate from ALB. So Pudnik does improve on his lap and goes P13. But yeah, so JDM actually DNF from the race before he could even string a lap together. So he will be starting. Oh, obviously, I do apologise, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a qualifying ban.
Yeah, so correct. JDM has a qualifying ban. He's starting in P19. But it's unfortunate from ALB that he's effectively starting. Well, he is starting on the back row. Or actually, no, he isn't. He's starting from the penultimate row of the grid. I mean, how much of a chance do the drivers at the back of the grid have on Monza? Is it a track that encourages a lot of overtaking, for example?
I would say that Monza is pronounced quite a lot for overtaking. However, drivers, especially what we saw on the start of Tier 1, is that everyone is very precarious, very cautious into Turn 1, as it is really easy to miss your braking point, as it's quite difficult to see with all the carnage and all the cars. So keeping your head cool in Turn 1 will definitely be a massive advantage. So being in the back on Monza is actually quite a massive disadvantage, as you have to take it steady. As you see Pudnik impeding a lap of MF Underboss out of the exit of Sakari. I think that he was trying to recover losing the back end there.
That is
unfortunate for
incredibly
MF Underboss.
Unfortunate, yeah. Meanwhile, we actually have Scruff giving an incredible tow to Tom Taylor 07. He skipped the turn 4-5 chicane, and that's allowed him to give Tom Taylor a tow all the way down to Ascari. And Tom Taylor...
It didn't matter, because MF Underboss improves to P3.
Yeah, that's exceptional, and it doesn't matter anyway, because Tom Taylor's almost a tenth down on his delta. We've only got 2 minutes left of qualifying, ladies and gentlemen. So really, the drivers are going to have to leave the pitch right now if they are to do a lap just before the end. And we do see Phil Donald, Lay and MOC ready to set a flying lap. You see, my eyes on MOC right now. He's just crossing the start-finish line and starting his flying lap. And as we said before, he's second in the Drivers' Championship. It's all the way down in P12 this qualifying session, so I am almost certain that he will pull out a blinder last minute. There's actually
Definitely
a yellow
need it.
flag, by the way. That's Tristan doing a few donuts right now in the middle of Ascari. He must have spun
He's not won the
on a flying
championship just
lap. Yeah, exactly. But that is the yellow flag in Sector 3.
Talking about MOC, the Ferrari, last qualifying session in Azerbaijan, we did see a P3 qualifying result from MOC, so he does have the potential to definitely be in the front row. However, I think he was trying to help out his teammate of Poppy, who is also on the final lap, I do believe.
Yeah, and it's a bit congested with this traffic through Ascari. There were 3 drivers going kind of right next to each other through Ascari, and that's not what you want to see. As MF Underboss
wow,
sets the fastest lap of a 128.702, and surprisingly, Tom Taylor's just binned it through Ascari halfway through, like just in front of MOC's flying lap, and he kind of had to swerve on the straights there. But that is qualifying ended for Tom Taylor 07, but to be honest, it is a good qualifying performance. P4 at the moment.
Is something to be very proud of. But what is also unfortunate is that Gutters and Poppy are right next to each other on their flying laps, I do believe, and Poppy has the pace over Gutters but can't pass him. It's not impeding as they're both on the lap, but it's very unfortunate as Poppy will have to abandon his lap, which is a shame, as I can imagine that he was on a very fast lap there.
However, Kevin Kearney out of here, honestly, the pole position, the pole sitter has changed so often throughout this qualifying, and I believe Kevin Kearney's pipped it right at the very last minute, just as qualifying was ending. Kevin Kearney, ladies and gentlemen, is on pole position.
For the second time.
Yeah, for the Italian Grand Prix with a 128.582. When else did he go on pole, Dark?
Russia, where he had that unfortunate disconnection issue where he binned half the grid, unfortunately.
That is unfortunate, yes. That kind of happened in the Monza race. Skadster lagged out in the Tier 1 race on Thursday, which everybody watching this stream should definitely go and check out. And unfortunately, that ended up...
strange.
Yeah, that ended up causing quite a collision. But yeah, it was a bit of a strange race.
It was a very big controversy, as it did take me out from the lead, which ultimately cost me the lead of the race and the win, so P3 had to settle for, but nonetheless the recovery was still great. Hopefully no collisions, incidents and safety car in Tier 2 race, as I wish all the best of these drivers here, as I've seen a Red Bull have gone off at Parabolica.
Yeah, that's Lay 51971, and unfortunately it seems like his qualifying is now over as Phil Donald gets wheeled into the things, and MOC, I think he was the final one of our drivers on a flying lap, and unfortunately he's actually binned it around Parabolica, which is heartbreaking to see. However, I believe that concludes qualifying, Dark. Do you want to give a rundown on the order before qualifying ends?
Cool. So for the second time this championship, Kevin Kearney takes pole with a very strong 128.5, very competitive lap time. In P2 we have MF Underboss, also a very strong qualifier, as we saw in Azerbaijan and also Russia itself. We have Nice Job MA, also a very strong qualifier, unfortunately not quite there in terms of the driver standings. We have Tom Taylor, both Alfa Romeos in P4 and 5, the United one in the Williams in P6, MOC P7, Tristan in P8 managed to pip Poppy there, and it's just disappeared from my screen.
Yeah, unfortunately it did kind of go out, but yeah, so what's interesting is... Oh yeah, go ahead. First of all, you run down the rest of the grid. You've got to... Tristan,
so both P1 and P2 in the standings of the drivers are down in P7 and 9, as we have Phil Donald also in contention of the Drivers' Championship in P10. It's not a great day for the top runners. Lay in P11, Infamous A in P12, Gutters in 13, 14 we have Pudnik, 15 Just Dino, 16 Stefan the Wheel, 17 we have Eisenman, 16 ALB, and the qualifying ban of JDM. And that concludes our grid, and hopefully we'll have a good race.
Something that you, I don't think you noticed, is that Gooder's 12:03 actually has a 5-place grid penalty, so he will be starting. Oh, maybe. I'm not too sure about Steph, but yeah, that will be a P18 start, I believe, for Gooders, which actually puts him right at the very back alongside JDM. Remind me once again, what particular incident made JDM receive that qualifying ban, or was it just kind of multiple small instances?
It was multiple incidents there. I can run you through some outcomes there, as I believe. Yes, I do have a PDF here. So JDM, it was a very ambitious moves, a lot of contact with people, especially hitting people off the track, dive bombing, which resulted in quite a lot of penalty points being thrown towards his license there. Also trying to find some more, violation of half the rulebook, not to be mean, but against in all the drivers like Infamous Aim, swerving on the track and also resetting to the track, which is a very hefty penalty.
Yeah, that is unfortunate, as the drivers start their formation lap, and as I always do, one of my favourite things is to run down the different tyre compounds that each of the drivers are doing. What's interesting about this race is, because it was a wet qualifying, obviously any of the drivers, not just the bottom 10, are allowed to pick any compound to start on. And straight away we see the P6 and P7 runners of the United 199 and MOC starting on the mediums. And Phil Donald, by the way, with Phil Donald and Poppy 1195 have just made contact straight away during this formation lap, and they've been disqualified, and they're going to have ice cold tyres heading into turn 1.
Unfortunately, we can't give a live penalty, so we don't know who's at fault there, but that is definitely a penalty coming to someone's way there.
Yeah, because it does really impact your race, having ice cold tyres.
And especially into that dangerous turn 1 where you have to be at peak braking performance, and unfortunately at the start of the race, when everyone's tyres are a little bit cold and dim, it will make a big difference.
Yeah, that is unfortunate, but just to run down the rest of the drivers on mediums, we obviously have Phil Donald, but also Infamous Aim in P12 and Eisenman in P16. So quite a few drivers, surprisingly, have gone for the softs. So hopefully our medium runners don't fall too low down the pecking order. But yeah, so Poppy and Phil Donald, they had a bit of a rivalry in Silverstone. They were P1 and P2 respectively. And Phil Donald actually picked Poppy for pole position in Silverstone. So right from lap 1 were these two drivers side by side. And they just happened to be next to each other once again. And this time they've made contact on the formation lap. It's absolutely crazy.
Definitely rivals in the championship, and it'd be very interesting to see who was at fault there. But also what's key to notice is that Phil Donald's on the mediums, which will cool down even faster than the softs, so it'll be even harder to break into turn 1. But what I'm also very surprised about the tyre choice is that a lot of people have opted for the soft compound tyre. While you'd be very fast at the start of the race, you'd be quite slow towards the end. I think they are betting on a safety car to hopefully bunch up the pack.
That is very true.
And
As I see Lay kind of lose it around Parabolica, but even so, yeah, I'm just going to take it out. I'm going to follow one of these top drivers, possibly. Unfortunately, it's kind of glitched out a bit, and the fact that Infamous is at the top suggests he might be lagging out, which isn't good. It's going to be a very long, light sequence if any drivers are lagging.
Yeah, we are currently stood still. I think Lay did mention. Oh, and we have.
But even so, the race is underway, ladies and gentlemen, in Monza, and it's a great start from MF Underboss. But it's also a pretty decent start from Kevin Kearney. They're side by side hanging into turn 1. Tom Taylor overtakes his Alfa Romeo teammate of Scruff heading into turn 1. And there seems to be a bit of carnage around turn 1 right now. Phil Donald drops a couple of places.
Couple of side by side action going on between the Alpine and quite a lot of the Alfa Romeos down the order there.
Yeah, bad start from United 1. Yeah, 99. He's lost 3 positions, but Lay all the way up into P7.
Indeed, covering some of the action into turn 3 and 4. Quite a lot of spins and lagging cars, ALB, and I think that was Justino getting contact from Gutters there.
Yeah.
JDM also spinning onto turn 5. A lot of action down the order, as we have a huge battle pack from, I believe, stretching from Infamous Aim all the way down to Steph.
Yeah, unfortunately for me, my kind of position change, things kind of glitched out. But yeah, I saw that with Steph. He really had to run wide on that turn 3 and 4
side-by-side
chicane.
moments, people going very slow into Ascari trying not to make contact, but Steph is going side-by-side with Gutters.
Yeah, luckily it was all single file through Ascari, which is what we like to see. No collisions at the moment. I think this is...
Justino makes a move on Eisenman down into Parabolica. Sorry for the interruption.
No, no worries.
Tries to make it stick around the outside, but the inside line is definitely the superior
But Infamous Aim has gone extremely wide through Parabolica, and I believe that's wing damage for Infamous Aim as he dives into the pits and unfortunately gets a 5-second time penalty for speeding on pit entry. But yeah, his left wheel was right into the gravel trap on the exit Parabolica. But I think we're watching right now Dino and Steph side by side through turn 1, and it's Steph who gets a good exit. But in fact, it's Poppy 1195 who's incredibly slow on the exit of turn 2, and he's just been overtaken by ALB and Pudnik. It's now Eisenman and Gutters side by side through Curve Grande. It's Eisenman who does end up overtaking, and Steph has been pushed wide through Curve Grande, and he's in the gravel. He's lost another 3 positions. Pudnik misses his braking zone and goes across the chicane of turns 4 and 5 even, ladies and gentlemen.
As we're talking, ladies and gentlemen, we have
Eisenman has been completely taken out, and Gutters is out of the race. That's an extreme incident, and a virtual safety car has been called, and Nice Job Mate has DNF'd in a completely separate incident around Ascari, and Scruff has dangerously re-entered the track and has almost made collisions with Phil Donald. And in fact, they do get a 5-second time penalty. Scruff and Phil Donald
is brought out lap 2.
Yeah, so full course safety car, and everything kind of went on right there, ladies and gentlemen. So there's going to be a lot to cover. So the first thing that happened was, I believe it was Eisenman and Gutters were side by side around Curve Grande, and in fact Eisenman has completely forgotten that Nice Job Mate was on the exit of Ascari, and Eisenman had literally just gone into the carcass of Nice Job Mate on the exit of Ascari, and he's now out of the race. I'm not too sure what was happening right there, Dark Inferno. Did you catch that?
I didn't catch it, but I definitely saw the glimpse of it in the background. That is very unfortunate, as Nitro Mate's carcass is now disappeared, and only a few into the pits with
But what
JDM.
is crucial is that...
in the heart.
Oh yeah, so what's crucial is the bottom 4 or 5 drivers even are pitting, whereas the rest of the pack just weren't able to. They got caught out by that safety car. So JDM's on the hards, ALB's on the softs, and he got a wing change. Scuff's on the mediums. Steph is on the hards, I believe. He is on the hards, and
pit stop.
Infamous Aim is 7 his 5-second time penalty under safety car, and is going on the mediums. Man, wow. I think the first thing to do is run through what's just happened for anyone who has missed what just happened for the last 3 laps as a quick rundown. So the first incident that happened was Eisenman and Gutters were side by side through turn 3, Curve Grande, and I believe it was one of the cars, I'm actually unsure what happened specifically, but one of the cars was pushed onto the curbing, and they lost the rear of the car and swerved and hit the barrier. And I originally thought that they were the ones who had DNF, but I believe they actually clipped the other driver. So I think it was Eisenman who spun round, clipped Gutters. Gutters DNF'd. Eisenman was down into last position. Then in a completely separate incident, Nice Job Mate DNFs through Ascari, and I wasn't able to catch that at all. So we have no idea what really happened, and it will be interesting to see other drivers' POVs. But then Eisenman lost his wing around, obviously had lost his wing with his incident with Gutters, and was struggling to turn around Ascari and went right into the back of the completely standstill car of Nice Job Mate. And that is effectively what happened.
Wow, a lot of action, and already lap 4. I don't know if you caught that, but Phil Donald entered the pits and received a 5-second time penalty for speeding, which is very, very unfortunate. As
That
Steph
is
pits again for the medium compound tyre.
Yeah, that's interesting. So he actually pit for hards alongside, it was JDM actually who was on the hards. And then I was talking about how one of the drivers...
Oh, we have an incident into turn
Justino.
4. It's been spun round. I'm unsure what happened. A drive-through penalty contact with Poppy. Again, very, very weird how... Ooh, as it almost makes contact with, I believe that is Phil Donald.
Oh,
really
hang on, there's been a
strange,
major
did not
incident.
catch that.
Scruff's in the grass on the exit of Lesmos 2. MF Underboss has been turned around and Pudnick's been turned around. Scruff actually reset to track and he's received a 10-second time penalty. There's absolute carnage behind the safety car. And it was
I wonder
around
what happens here because everyone
two
needs
Lesmo
to
corners.
be reducing speed. I'm really confused as to why there is any incidents at all on the safety car, especially with the new rules in place. Very interesting to see what on earth has happened, as I did not catch any of that, did you?
No, unfortunately not. I was kind of explaining what happened before, and I was actually looking at the 5-second time penalties between Kevin Kearney and Scruff, because if you remember, Scruff dangerously rejoined the track around Ascari, knocked into Kevin Kearney, and both drivers got a 5-second time penalty. But as I was just explaining that, I believe one of the drivers must have come off, but it was a bit of side-by-side contact through Lesmo, and many drivers came off. It was actually Pudnick who was in the gravel, MF Underboss was in the gravel, and like you noticed, Justino was completely backwards.
Justino has now entered the pits, I believe for a wing change.
No, I believe that
so
was
is
to
Poppy.
serve his drive-through penalty, but he can't serve his drive-through because it's the safety car.
But yeah, I believe Poppy is serving his penalty. He has a wing change. There's evident there is contact between Justino and Poppy.
Yeah, so Justino's on the mediums, but there wasn't any sort of wing change. I believe he was trying to serve his drive-through penalty. But obviously
he
you
has
can't.
retired from the race.
Who? Justino?
Justino, he's been. Oh no, never mind. Right on me. It looked like his car got pulled into the pits, and that was really weird.
Yeah, that's very interesting. But kind of the carnage resumes, ladies and gentlemen. We have Kevin Kearney, who just received a 5-second time penalty for a collision with Tom Taylor under the safety car. Now that's extremely interesting because I watched. I was watching Kevin Kearney's car, and he went on the inside curb around turn 4, and that kind of launched his car up a little bit. That might have been what caused contact between him and Tom Taylor. But now, and the two drivers are on softs, meaning that they're going to be serving their 5-second time penalty because they're still yet to pit. This will make the race extremely interesting. We have Tom Taylor in P2, who is doing exceptionally well, but just knocked into Kevin Kearney as the safety car is entering this lap. But right now, with all the penalties that have been added, I believe it's actually Tristan who is provisionally leading this race on the softs. In fact, ignore me, because MOC has not pit. In fact, the driver, the only driver, the driver to pit first even, is JDM on the hard tyre. He's in P7. So he may be provisionally leading this race. It's actually very confusing to identify who's in the lead.
Before we get underway for the safety car restart, the rule states that cars must leave a minimum of 3 car whips against each other, otherwise they'll be found guilty of any collisions. So it'll be very interesting to see what all that was about.
I'm not too sure what Kevin Kearney's
gets
doing.
in the way.
Yeah, he kind of faked entering the pits right there. I was a bit confused following the drivers down on the grid. But there are actually 4 wide right now heading into turn 1. Scruff, Pudnick and ALB, but it's Scruff who's incredibly late on the brakes and ends up making about 4 or 5 overtakes. And in fact, United 199 almost was turned around through turn 2 there. He's lost a couple of positions. And now he's side by side with JDM. In fact, he's side by side with ALB through Curve Grande, and they're going to remain being side by side. They bang wheels a bit through Curve Grande. They're going to keep on being side by side through turn 4, and it's United 199 has been turned around, and he's contact with Poppy, and it's absolute carnage. And he's just hit into Poppy. I'm unsure whether Poppy just received a wing damage, but yeah. So the two drivers of ALB and United 99 were side by side into turn 4. United 99 was on the inside and was spun around. Not too sure if it's ALB's fault, but he then hit into Poppy.
Very sorry to interrupt, but Scruff A is going for an outside move into Ascari against, I believe that is Lay in the Red Bull. Backs out of it, which is very
back out. Exactly. It's so dangerous going side by side through Ascari. So we're good to see that the drivers are clean. I think the closest 2 drivers right now are Poppy 1195 and Phil Donald. However, I'm unsure whether...
making a move and Pudnick into... touches the grass, hinder his tyres as Poppy also tries to follow through.
Yeah, not good for Pudnick. He's lost 2 positions in 1 turn through Parabolica.
But Poppy does have fresh soft, so that is also a key factor. However, Pudnick is trying to get back at Poppy and maybe even Phil Donald into turn 1.
That's very interesting. Just Dino Pitts, he's had an awful race, unfortunately, with time penalties, and now he's spun once again. I believe he's going to be pitting for a brand new front wing, and Steph has been contacted into. In fact, Tristan has just lost quite a few positions right there. He was quite high up, but he's just lost about 3 or 4 positions, which is extremely unfortunate.
Poppy's trying to make a move on Phil Donald, which is vital, as Poppy has the freshest softs against the hard compound of tyre. Goes down inside of turn 3, very slow through those corners. However, Poppy does remain victorious and keeps.
Oh, hang on, Scruff has just oversteered around Lesmo 1, and unfortunately, luckily, there isn't any collisions. I'm just following Scruff right now, and he is doing the sensible thing. He's actually completely standstill. That was incredibly close
Steph
between Scruff and Steph. But yeah, so Scruff, due to obviously ghosting being disabled, he had to, and unfortunately spun again on his extremely hot tyres, and I believe he may have even reset to track for a second time in a row, Dark Inferno. But yeah, so Scruff, Infamous Aim has just DNF'd with a collision with JDM on the exit of Ascari, and the full course safety car has been brought out once again, Dark. JDM, I believe, has lost his wing. He must have. But that is Infamous Aim. Yeah, so JDM's lost his wing. Infamous Aim is in the wall on the exit of Ascari, and we've got another full course safety car.
That's MF Underboss receives a 5-second time penalty for speeding under the plate line, and Pudnick receives a drive-through penalty.
Yeah, for not for ignoring the delta, and Scruff just received a drive-through for ignoring the delta. However, unlike the first safety car, almost the entire field have just boxed for mediums and hards, and it's Tom Taylor on the hards, and JDM is pitting for another set of tyres. And Justino, who was last just a moment ago, has actually been able to overtake quite a few cars. He's all the way in P11 right now, but the only driver...
aren't as much degraded, so yeah, he will be in the money here.
Yeah, exactly. He's definitely in the mix, and that is shaking things up exceptionally. And Tom Taylor's received a 5-second time penalty for a collision with Tristan under the safety car once again. That is unfortunate to see. However, Steph, who was actually quite low down the field not long ago, is all the way up into P6. Kevin Kearney, once again, leads the pecking order, but he's yet to pit. I'm wondering whether he's going to dive into the pits and serve his 5-second time penalty right now. In fact, he's actually got 10 seconds worth of time penalties. But I'm sure he'll pit this lap. He's still on his soft tyres, and if he doesn't, he's definitely going to be caught out. However, I think the driver to watch right now is going to be potentially Tom Taylor and United 199, the only 2 drivers to pit for hards. Everybody else has gone for mediums. And I believe, yes, so Kevin Kearney's in the pits, and so is Lay, and so is MOC, interestingly, when he was provisionally... In fact, no, it's because MOC started on the... medium compound, so he's now probably going to be pitting for hards until the end of the race. No, MOC goes on another set of mediums. I wonder if he's banking on another safety car dart, because he has to pit for a different compound, otherwise he'll be disqualified.
Indeed, mediums are proven to have gone the race distance from this point onwards, so was it very intelligent to go onto the mediums? If there's another safety car, yes. However, being on the hards from the mediums would be a better choice right now.
Yeah, this is an incredible race. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen, because I have no idea any driver in this race could win it realistically. What's interesting is Steph was up into P6 with 3-lap-old medium tyres, but for some reason he's decided to pit for fresh mediums, and he's all the way back down in P12 now, which is quite confusing. But I believe the provisional leader of this race, once again, may even be late 51971, and the reason why I say that, Dark, is no, MOC's still got a pit, remember, he's gone from medium to medium.
That is very true.
So MOC's yet to pit effectively. He's still got a pit for another compound of tyres. MF Underboss, Kevin Kearney and Phil Donald all have 5-second penalties. What's interesting is Phil Donald has now gained the lead of the race for the first time this weekend, because Kevin Kearney served 5-second time penalty under the safety car.
Meanwhile, more contact between MOC and it's Kevin Kearney. Very interesting, as I caught that. I wasn't sure if Kevin Kearney was brake checking them on the safety car. However, that is most definitely not allowed. A lot of contacts on the safety car, I must admit. We shouldn't really be seeing that, especially in such a professional league as VFL.
Yeah, exactly. I'm unsure what to really make of all of the incidents that happen under the safety car. there's definitely going to have to be a
Scuff
lot.
A bins it at the end of Sakari, sorry.
Yeah, that is unfortunate, and he's still got a drive-through penalty to serve, and so has Pudnik. So a lot of drivers have received an extreme amount of penalties.
He has lost his wing, unfortunately, and even worse, serving a drive-through penalty won't change your wing. However, he will come in to change his wing.
That is extremely unfortunate. But real quick, we have 4 DNFs so far, ladies and gentlemen. Gooders ended up DNFing around Lesmo 2 whilst battling side by side. In fact, it was Curve Grande whilst battling side by side with Eisenman. Nice Job Mate lost it on the exit of Ascari. Eisenman went into the back of Nice Job Mate, and our most recent DNF was Infamous Aim with I believe it was contact between him and JDM, or him and Justino. It's definitely between Infamous Aim and an Alpha Tauri, but that battle was heading through Ascari, and that has what sport our second safety car of the race, ladies and gentlemen.
Very unfortunate for those who are down, but there's going to be a very busy day for the FIA, I can be sure of that. Obviously the rulebook is right there in front of everyone in their hands, so they should know what they're doing. Despite that, there's been a very interesting race so far. As you said before, anyone could win this race. Phil Donald on the older compound tyre and everyone behind him on the newer, fresher tyres. Very interesting mix-up today.
Yes, exactly. As Kevin Kearney, it's a major incident, in fact. Kevin Kearney, who was leading this race, has had a major crash. He was completely turned around, and he's all the way down into P6, and he's just received another time penalty for contacting with Tom Taylor. And in fact, ALB is now going extremely slowly. This is an absolute train wreck under safety car. ALB stopped on track, and so is MF Underboss.
I believe someone has an illegal overtake, and that's why that's happening, but communication with these drivers is not allowed.
Yeah,
so.
Kevin Kearney almost went into the back of his teammate Lay, and the safety car is resuming, but Kevin Kearney, who has led this race since the very beginning, has to dive right into the pits and change his wing, but he's decided not to, ladies and gentlemen, and instead he's going to make a move on his Red Bull teammate heading into turn 1, despite having a 20-second time penalty. But MF Underboss does dive into the pits, and it will be interesting to see what happens. Kevin Kearney very late on the brakes, but locks up heavily into turn 1. Scruff gets a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and Lay completely loses it on the exit of turn 2, and he's all over the grass. And in fact, he is only lost a position. He's still in the race, but it was an unfortunate exit out of turn 2 for Lay.
Very good save, however, and unfortunately he lost that position to Kevin Kearney, who took that unfortunate spin. As we see, MOC right in the back of Phil Donald on the older compound. As we see, he's understeering into these corners now.
Or we have JDM making a move on Pudnik, but he went over that inside curb at turn 4, which launched his car into the air and almost lost the rear. He's now 1 second behind Pudnik, who's still yet to serve his drive-through penalty. But Tristan, only 1.5 tenths of a second behind Tom Taylor heading into Ascari.
As we have a yellow flag from MF Underboss and Steph.
5-second time penalty for corner cutting. That means that was a significant corner cut heading through turn 1 and turn 2.
As the drivers to watch now is MOC and Phil Donald does. Phil Donald is evidently really struggling on those 6-hold hards.
Yeah, what's really interesting is Kevin Kearney refuses to pit even though he's got a damaged wing, and I can see that he was struggling on the exit of Ascari, and he's lost 2 seconds already to the 2 front runners. I believe
down
he's
the
not
inside
pitting.
of Phil Donald into turn 1, trying to make the corner stake. The space is given, very nicely done by MOC.
Yes, that was a nice overtake. No, in fact, it was Phil Donald on the inside line of turn 2, gets a very poor exit from turn 2, and MOC pulls out almost a second already, and that's allowed Kevin Kearney to catch up quite significantly. But like I said, I don't think Kevin's pitting because he doesn't want to serve another 5-second time penalty, which would probably just flicking it to leader would send him probably to the back of the grid, just in front of Scruff. But Poppy and Tom Taylor are now side by side through turn 4, and Tom Taylor's just been turned around through turn 4. Unfortunately, I don't think he's been given much room on the inside, but he's now drifting and trying to rejoin the track, and he's now all the way down to P12. Luckily, there is a 10-second gap between his Alfa Romeo teammate Scruff, who's in P13, but that is an unfortunate incident for Tom Taylor. Almost every single race that he's participated in, he's either DNF'd or had a major incident at some point, which is a shame because he was actually in a great position for the majority of every single race he's been part of. But
you're very right.
It's another incident, and I just hate to see it. Yeah, honestly. Oh, hang on. I think the best battle to follow right now is Poppy 1195 and Tristan are both battling. Neither driver will get DRS on the main straight. However, the closest three drivers are the United 199, Tristan and Poppy in P5, 6 and 7. And Pudnick is serving his drive-through penalty right now.
Very clean, tidy into turn 1 and 2 for United 1, Tristan and Poppy. However, Tristan looks very confident on his brakes.
Tom Taylor gets a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. He just entered the pit lane to change out his front wing. But Phil Donald and Kevin Kearney had a bit of a battle, because Kevin Kearney was briefly in P2, but he's now regained... Phil Donald has now regained his P2 position, and that has allowed our P2 Drivers' Championship runner, MOC, to pull out a whole 2-second gap from Phil Donald, and he's penalty-free right now, so it's looking extremely good for MOC in the Ferrari in P1, and it almost seems like Poppy will no longer be leading the championship by the end of the race.
However, MOC, if I remember, has to pit again, as he's gone on to a second set of medium compound tyre.
Yeah, so Poppy gets a 3-second time penalty on the entrance of Ascari. Unfortunately cut that first turn. And it seems like the gaps between the drivers are pulling out a little bit. Not many drivers are even in the DRS activation zone, apart from we have a bit of a battle between Kevin Kearney and Phil Donald. I think the one to watch right now is this three-way battle between Poppy, Tristan and United 199. In fact, Kevin and Phil Donald are side-by-side into turn 1, but Kevin does yield. And remember, Kevin, I still think he's got significant wing damage, but he's still able to battle and almost overtake Phil Donald. So that's great driving from Kevin Kearney right now.
Indeed, it must not be affecting him all too much, although it is evident that he is slower through the corners.
Yes, indeed. Justino, in fact, he's got an incredible speed advantage over ALB through Curve Grande, and he's going to be making a move into turn 4. He's squeezed right to the inside. He's deep on the brakes, locks up a bit, and because he runs on that inside curb, he's pushed out onto the gravel. Yeah, what were you going to say, Dark, about that incident?
I was going to say, it doesn't look like there was a lot of room given looking on Justino's POV. LB should have left a little bit more room on the inside as he forced Justino to hit that inside curb.
Yeah, indeed. And the race is kind of stretching out a little bit. There's a bit of a battle between Tristan and Poppy, but apart from that, the drivers have actually got quite large gaps between each other. ALB gets a 3-second time penalty. But I believe the battle to watch right now, Dark, is between Tristan and Poppy. 0.3 of a second gap through Parabolica. But as we know, down this massive DRS straight, that gap will be destroyed. And it looks like... Yeah, it looks like Poppy may be overtaken heading into turn 1. And it's close, but Tristan doesn't go for an overtake. He actually backs out of that one.
Small contact, but he was testing the gap to see if it was there, but it wasn't, and he smartly moved out, as in now I think he might try and go for a move into turn 4.
Ah yes, I think Tristan is the driver to watch. Kevin Kearney didn't decide to go for a move into turn 4. However, Tristan does go for a move through turn 4, and it's relatively clean. There was a bit of wheel banging on the exit of turn 5, but it seems like Tristan has actually gained the P5 position over Poppy 1195, who's now in P6, with a 3-second time penalty, may I add. So that'll actually knock him below the United 199. The Williams driver, who's now, due to the battle between Poppy and Tristan through turn 3 and 4, has been given a chance at P5. In fact, Poppy overtakes Tristan on the run-up into Ascari, and Tristan has not got an answer to that one. Poppy does take the lead. It's a little bit squirrely through Ascari, but it doesn't matter. He does take the lead through Ascari. And Tristan...
Very close race between these two as Tristan tries to go back. Ooh, Poppy tactically trying to get DRS into the main start-finish straight.
I'm not too sure if it worked though. It was extremely late to actually push it for DRS, and I'm not too sure. In fact, yes, Poppy has got DRS and Tristan doesn't, but the United 199 is the driver to watch. He's got a significant speed advantage over both drivers, and he's on the grass on the outside, and there's a bit of a carnage between the three drivers, and the United 199 has been forced to use the exit road and let through the three drivers, and the United 199 does get a 5-second time penalty, and there's a bit of contact between him and Tristan on the exit of that turn, but I'm not too sure what the United 199 could have done right there. He slowed down significantly,
Correct.
But he's been given a 5-second time penalty, so we'll definitely see if that should be changed, because he did let through Tristan and Poppy.
I believe that should be changed, as Poppy and Tristan are really squabbling here, really hard into these corners. Great driving for both of them.
Yeah, I do think this is the battle to watch, the three-way battle between United 99, Tristan and Poppy, and this battle for P5 is really shaping up. I mean, did you see it just a minute ago when the three drivers were kind of three wide heading into turn 1, and the United 199 was on the grass? It was quite exceptional.
Unfortunately, Poppy, oh no, ignore me, I thought Poppy didn't have a penalty. So they're now all equal on penalties. So it has to be one on track.
Yeah, so Tristan has had a 3-second time penalty advantage over Poppy this entire time, but he just picked up a time penalty of his own through Ascari, meaning we're now completely equal between the two drivers, and they're going to have to do their talking on track. Yeah, so Tristan down the inside, there was a bit of wheel banging into turn 1, like Dart was just saying, but yeah, so Tristan does take the P5 so far, but I think this battle's going to last way into the end of the race. As we quickly... Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead, sir.
Oh no, I was just about to say, let's just pan over to MOC and appreciate the fact he's almost 5 seconds ahead of Phil Donald and Kevin Kearney. And in fact, Kevin Kearney loses the position to Lay. He's lagging like crazy right now.
Indeed he is. But what I was going to say is that United 1 could be very well in contention of nipping positions 6 and 5, as Tristan and Poppy on the medium compound tyre and United 1 on the hard, so the hards are supposed to become better.
Yeah, so they're side by side, and in fact Poppy was able to overtake Tristan heading into Ascari. That DRS straight, we don't see many overtakes normally, but for some reason between these two drivers there's been constant overtakes through that DRS zone into Ascari. I wonder if it's tactical. I wonder if Tristan's letting Poppy through so that he gets the much more powerful DRS on that start-finish straight heading into turn 1. That's all up to guessing, really, but what is for certain is that the battle between Poppy and Tristan for P5 is going to carry on way into the end of this race. They've been swapping positions for about 4 to 5 laps now, and in fact, Tristan was about to make a move on Poppy into turn 1, but he does yield. I think he left it a little bit too late. But there's a significant ERS advantage to Tristan. Poppy is sitting only on 9 to 10% ERS. Meanwhile, Tristan's sitting on a massive bank of 60%, so he's clearly not pushing. However, we just see a yellow flag in Sector 1 as Scruff is going incredibly slowly. I believe he must have oversteered on the exit of turn 1. But we've got a three-way battle real quick, Dart. Watch this. Three-way battle for P. Kevin Kearney almost loses it on the exit of Lesmo 2. But yeah, three-way battle briefly between Phil Donald, Kevin Kearney and Lay.
Yeah, all brilliant driving from all of them here.
Yeah, so side by side, Tristan and the United 199 through Ascari, and Tristan goes way off the track throughout Ascari, to be honest, and that has enabled United 199 to get a much superior exit. There's less than 1/10 of a second separating the two drivers heading into Parabolica, and honestly, I think the advantage is on the United 199. He was able to take a wider line into Parabolica. He's going to get a better exit, and I believe he's going to get DRS as well. In fact, he has got DRS, and Tristan hasn't, so this overtake is pretty much written all over the cards. But we have an incredibly slow Steph. I believe he may have wobbled a little bit, but MF Underboss, I've just caught MF Underboss on the exit of Ascari, and it's a massive accident for MF Underboss. He's lost his wing. Luckily he didn't DNF, but yeah, quite an exceptional crash right there for MF Underboss in P13.
Very unfortunate for MF Underboss. It's just not his day today.
And if he's actually DNF'd, I'm not too sure if that was on purpose or by accident, but he has DNF'd throughout Parabolica. So yellow flag's been waved through Sector 3.
I did not see his carcass, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, Dart, Kevin Kearney, who was leading the race for quite a long time, has dropped down quite significantly. He's actually just been overtaken by Poppy, 11.95, through none other than Lesmo 2, which is extremely interesting. And now Poppy 11.95 is a man on a mission. He's only 4/10 of a second behind Phil Donald, who himself is only 3/10 of a second behind Lay. Now you see, if Lay gets a 3-second time penalty, we could still see a Ferrari 1-2, which will be incredibly interesting. He was battling with Tristan, but now Tristan's got his eyes set on the United 199. I think that United 199 overtaking Tristan has really disrupted the battle between Poppy and Tristan, but Phil Donald is the driver who takes the lead, or at least takes P2 heading into turn 1, but it isn't enough. Lay is extremely deep on the brakes, and they're going side by side, and that has allowed Poppy to slip by both drivers, and he is now into P2. And that is because Lay, and in fact, there's been contact, massive contact. Phil Donald and Lay, I forgot to mention, they are both off through turn 2. Lay, who was in P2 for a large majority of this race, is now all the way down into P7, and so is Phil Donald. And I wonder if that will be taken to the stewards' room, because the two drivers were side by side through turn 1 and turn 2, and I believe they were kind of both pushed each other off.
Yeah, indeed. And if you pay attention to P1 and P2, that is currently the finish position of last race.
Yeah, that is exceptional. So MOC LFC has been leading this race for quite a while now, but Poppy has made quite an exceptional bounce through the field just suddenly. He was battling with Tristan for quite a long time, and now he's all the way back up into P2 because Lay and Phil Donald just took each other out through turn 1 and 2. And he's got a massive lead actually on Kevin Kearney due to his 20-second time penalty. So in fact, the only driver that can even kind of battle with Poppy right now is his nemesis for quite a majority of this race, Tristan, who's in P4. And this has completely mixed things up. These drivers, United 199, Tristan and Poppy, were battling for P5, and now they're battling for P2, which is incredible.
It is incredible. Just watching lap times, MOC is actually pulling out 0.4 of a second faster than Poppy right now.
Ah, extremely interesting. MOC is kind of a man on a mission right now. He's almost pulled out just over 9 seconds. I was about to say 9/10 of a second, ladies and gentlemen, but no, it is a 9-second gap to Poppy, and Poppy has a 3-second time penalty, but so does Tristan. Kevin Kearney with his 20-second time penalty. You don't know how much of that will be removed post-race, but if it does stand, he's out of this race. But there's been a virtual safety car, ladies and gentlemen, and that's because Lay has binned it through the turn 4 and 5 chicane, and I'm not too sure if that's the only reason why a safety car's been called, but it doesn't look like he's damaged his wing. In fact, yes, he has, ladies and gentlemen. Lay has completely lost his wing through turn 4 and 5, and that is heartbreaking to see. He's been in P2, and it looked like a pretty firm P2. He was battling with Phil Donald, but Phil had a 5-second time penalty. So it looked like P2 was on the cards for Lay, but now he's lost his wing, he's in P9, and once he comes out the pits, he could be as low as P11 or P12.
Indeed, very heartbreaking for Lay, who seems quite strong for this race. As
But what's
two in the pits.
Yeah, I'm sorry to mention, but this is major. MOC has pit for softs with only 5 laps remaining, and that looks like a mistake. Tristan's received a drive-through penalty for not obeying the safety car, and JDM's just DNF'd. I'm not too sure what corner that was on. JDM has DNF through Ascari, which is unfortunate. This is major. They haven't brought out the full course safety car. It's still only a virtual safety car, but this is major. Ladies and gentlemen, MOC has boxed for softs. Tristan's got a drive-through time penalty, and he's just lost it through turn 4 and 5. I was just able to catch that, and now it's a bit of a dangerous re-entry onto the track for Tristan, but luckily he doesn't take out any driver, which is good. So Tristan has got quite hot tyres through Lesmo, but it's okay. He's still in P3, but he's got drive-through penalty to serve, and this has shaken things up completely. Poppy just seems like he cannot lose. He had a pretty poor qualifying performance down into P9, I believe, at the start, but suddenly he's gone from battling for P5 all the way to leading this race by quite a significant margin. I think the battle between Poppy and MOC is on. Kevin Kearney has a 20-second time penalty. Tristan's got a drive-through, but the reason why is because MOC's just boxed for softs with about 5.5 laps remaining, which is extreme, and I do believe that the virtual safety car has actually ended. Yes, it has. I mean, this is extreme. Tristan's just entered the pits to serve his drive-through. I mean, man, what's going to happen, Dart, please?
Unfortunately, I think MOC is a little bit too far back to challenge its Kevin Kearney and Poppy for the win here, unless they start battling. So
Lay's just DNF'd. That's heartbreaking. Lay's just DNF through that turn 4-5 chicane once again. In fact, we have Kevin Kearney and Poppy driving past. In fact, if you follow MOC right now, you will see the back marker car of Lay, who was in P2 for so long, and his carcass sitting at the side of the road, which is heartbreaking.
Another heartbreak. I can't count how many there was today, but it looks
dude,
like
every weekend there's about 4 or 5 heartbreaks.
Indeed there is.
But I think
it looks to be winning this race so far.
I mean, there is a 3-second time penalty for Poppy, meaning the MOC is technically only 5 seconds behind Poppy 11.95. And I mean, can MOC do it? It sounds doable. You have about 6 laps remaining, and you've got to gain 5 seconds, and you're on fresh softs, and your rival is on 14-lap-old medium tyres. So it seems like it's possible. It's because MOC's gone for the fastest lap, and the current holder of the fastest lap is actually Scruff with a 122.1.
Indeed, it'd be very interesting if MSC can close that gap.
Yellow flag in Sector 1, and it's Kevin Kearney, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not too sure if he was side by side with Poppy or whether that was him just losing it on his own accord, but he's lost a significant amount of time, and in fact,
I believe
he's right.
He's lost that to his own accord.
Yeah, he's right behind Kevin Kearney right now, and the back marker of Tom Taylor 07 is the only thing alongside Kevin Kearney between MOC and Poppy, and really between MOC and taking the lead of the championship.
Yeah, you'll be very correct. MOC really needs to get a hurry up here. He needs to be within 5 seconds of Poppy in order to win this race.
Yeah, this is absolutely insane. You know, on paper, it really looked like MOC was making the right decision to pit for softs. It's not too difficult to gain 6 seconds on fresh tyres in 5 laps. But, I mean, it's looking quite tight. There is now a 7.5 or just over a 7.5 second gap between MOC and Poppy, and he's got to make that a 3-second gap, and there's now only 3 laps remaining. What's interesting is Kevin Kearney and the back marker of Tom Taylor 07 are actually kind of going side by side right now, heading into turn 1, but Kevin does give him the position. I mean, this is incredibly tight. I actually think that it's looking more and more like MOC may have just lost the lead of the race, which is unfortunate to see. Kevin Kearney actually lets MOC through despite not being a back marker. And this is incredibly interesting, because if MOC does beat Poppy in this race, you see Poppy is only 6 points ahead of MOC, and there's actually, what is the gap between P1 and P2 in VFL points-wise? We will never know, because Dark Inferno has unfortunately gone, which is no worries, so I'm just going to check the points system. And the gap is actually 4 points, but if MOC gets the fastest lap, it will be 5 points, which means that Poppy is, I do apologise, ladies and gentlemen, going to keep the lead of the Drivers' Championship, regardless to whether MOC wins the race or not. But even so, I don't think MOC wants Poppy to gain an even larger advantage on this Drivers' Championship. There's now only a 6.2 second gap between the two Ferrari drivers, and he's got to make that a 3 second gap. He's only got 2 laps remaining now, ladies and gentlemen, to cut down an entire 3 seconds. And honestly, the longer that this lasts, the less of a chance MOC has to kind of make history and beat Poppy 11.95, which is unfortunate. So just Dino actually goes for an overtake on Tristan, and it seemed like quite an easy overtake. There was a yellow flag in that sector, but Kevin Kearney loses it once again, ladies and gentlemen. This is heartbreaking. Through turn 1 and turn 2, and I believe that it's his 20-second time penalty that has kind of made Kevin maybe relax and put down his guard a little bit. In fact, Phil Donald has actually lost it through turn 1 and 2, and I'm not too sure whether he was side by side with Scruff before that incident. Not too sure if we're going to have to kind of look at the stewards with that one. Tristan gets a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting. However, there's only a 5.3 second gap now between him and Poppy. So between MOC and Poppy, only a 5.4 second gap. And it looks like MOC has actually gained an entire second on Poppy, and that's because Poppy's sitting there on effectively barely any ERS. He's actually got 2% ERS, and Phil Donald has actually DNF'd through Lesmo 1, and that is heartbreaking. He was in P6 and he's now going to tumble all the way down to P12. And we are on the penultimate lap of the race. And in fact, we are now on the final lap of the race as Poppy 1195 crosses the start-finish line for the penultimate time, with MOC LFC 5 seconds behind him. He's got to catch 2 seconds in a single lap. And to be honest, it doesn't look likely. It seems to me like Poppy 1195 has just got incredible pace on these, I think, 15 or 16 lap old, 18 lap old mediums now, ladies and gentlemen. And MOC, it's not like he's a slow driver, it's that Poppy has just kind of pulled it out of the bag and has really cranked up the pace when it mattered most. However, there's a bit of a side-by-side battle between the United 199 and Scruff heading into turn 1 and 2. The United 199 actually comes out on top and he's in P4 now. But remember, for the longest time, we had a three-way battle between Tristan, the United 199, and Poppy. And, I mean, look at what's happened right now. Tristan got a drive-through penalty, and that demoted him all the way down to around P7. And he's just lost a side-by-side battle with ALB, so he's now all the way down into P8. United 199 has actually made a pretty good recovery from the situation, and he's all the way back up into P4. But Poppy, against all odds, has led the race for the final few laps after MOC LSC pit for a fresh set of sauce with about 5 laps to go. And he crosses the line, ladies and gentlemen, to take the victory in Monza and extend his championship lead even more, with his Ferrari teammate crossing the line in style to take P2. And Kevin Kearney in P3 will cross the line in P3, but his 20-second time penalty will make him trundle down the table, as United 199 does cross the line and gets given the lowest tier of the podium in P3, with Scruff in P4 and potentially Justino in P5. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not too sure how many of Kevin Kearney's penalties will actually be removed before the final race results are compiled, because it seemed very odd that he was given a 20-second time penalty in such a short duration. I'm not too sure if that was a game glitch or whether it was just multiple contact under safety car. But I mean, that was an incredible result for Ferrari right now. I think that PJ is going to be laughing, because he has picked a dream team when it comes to Tier 2. Poppy 1195 in the lead of the Drivers' Championship, and then MOC LFC in P2. And you know what? That's the exact same positions that they finish this weekend. And that means that Ferrari has now taken the lead of the Constructors' Championship. But it's been a very good result from the United 199. An unfortunate result for Steph, since he's using the brand new wheel and he's kind of getting used to it. And that's why he's racing in these Tier 2 races when JKS Racing even, cannot attend the races. Even so, it's driver of the day for Poppy 1195, and I actually forgot, ladies and gentlemen, that this is the driver who started in P9 and he fought his way through almost the entire grid. So that is an incredible result for Poppy right there. As we do an extremely quick rundown of the scoreboards, unfortunately there will not be post-race interviews today because of the time, and Dark Inferno's had to go, unfortunately, so I do apologise if you were desperate for a post-race interview, but I'm going to have to make this a really quick ending. I'm going to run down the leaderboards and then we're going to close off the live stream. Poppy 1195 taking it home, P1, alongside his Ferrari teammate MOC in P2. United 199 in P3, Fort Williams, and the Alfa Romeo driver at Scruff in P4 with the fastest lap, which is an incredible result for the Alfa Romeo driver. I think that may even be his best result. Justino in P5 after starting at P14, so that's a great result for him. Kevin Kearney in P6 after factoring in his 20-second time penalty that will be looked at post-race. Tristan in P7 after serving his drive-through penalty. ALB in P8, Pudnick in P9, and Tom Taylor in P10 after his heartbreaking crash. Steph on the wheel in P11, and the rest of the drivers have DNF'd. Phil Donald in P12, Lay in P13, JDM with his qualifying ban in P14, MF Underboss in P15, Infamous Aim in P16, Eisenman P17, Nice Job Mate in P18, and in P19 was Gooders, who unfortunately crashed towards the beginning of the race and called out our first safety car. Even so, ladies and gentlemen, that was an absolutely incredible race for the fourth round of the second tier of the Virtual Formula League. Do not forget to join us once again on Thursday for round 5 of Tier 1 around Saudi Arabia, in which I'm going to be racing during the race, but I will be giving some commentary alongside PJKOTR during the qualifying. That was an absolutely exceptional race, and unfortunately I don't think Dark Inferno is here to sign us off, so I'm going to have to...
I can say goodbye, but not a lot.
I'll even say that is Dark Inferno's way of saying goodbye.
I did like to apologise for not being able to commentate for the race, but
yeah, no worries at all.
Carry from Sigboy there.
Yeah, no worries. To be honest, I kind of like taking it away. No, but yeah, even so, that was an absolutely incredible race. But ladies and gentlemen, do not forget to tune in for next week on Thursday for the round 5, the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.